there, good people. Here we are. It's 2020, and we're in the middle of a global pandemic. And like everyone is feeling it a little bit differently, right? We're all responding to this situation in our own way. Some people are feeling a lot of intense, strong emotions, and they're like looking for some roots in this ever-shifting, ever-changing landscape. So that's what we're going to be talking about today on Apothecary Wisdom. We're going to be talking about how normal it is, how human it is to have these intense emotions, and then I'm going to give you a couple of skills and tools and insights to help you navigate those emotions so that they don't overtake you, so that you can stay centered and grounded and establish roots even in times of uncertainty, especially in times of uncertainty. My name is Maria. If this is our first time meeting, I'm a midwife and an herbalist, and I'm the creator of Botanicals, and we make nourishing herbal remedies for women and children and for family wellness. And I encourage you to check out our website and our blog and our YouTube channel and podcast and all the good things that we have to offer for you in this time. And really, we've been holding space for you for a long time. And today, this is a live event, and I'm in front of the camera, and Heaven's behind the camera. And so I can't see any of the comments, yet I'm still inviting you and encouraging you to show up and lean in and be a part of the conversation and give insights, especially if I say something that really resonates with you, to like let us know what's the most important insights for you. Yeah, so here we are, these spiritual beings, right? Having this human experience in the midst of this quarantine and this global pandemic. And we're feeling all these emotions simultaneously. I mean, some people are having a really hard time and some people not so much. And they're feeling maybe even a little guilty that their life is kind of just fine, right? And then these waves, these emotions kind of come in waves, and we have them all at once, and we'll feel fine and then feel like, whoa, really overwhelmed with the emotion. They just kind of pour in. I mean, and a lot of the common conversations that I've been hearing people having is they're really stressed out about money, right? Or about their work, or about their livelihood, or they just committed a lot of time to growing a business or opening a restaurant, and that's uncertain and they're not working right now, right? Other people are concerned about the actual virus and getting sick, or a loved one that's a high-risk person that might get sick, or they might have already lost someone. And my heart goes out, really. And, and then some of us are just like, not really afraid, but they're really just more angry about how the government's managing the situation, right? Or, we're like also, some people are like living in small quarters with a lot of people, and it's like frustrating to be around so many people all the time without having your personal space and having to feed everybody. I mean, 3 times a meal, growing kids. I mean, it's like, that's a lot, right? And then there's other people that are feeling isolated and alone, and they're not around anyone, and they're in an apartment. And in all those situations, my heart goes out to you, and in all those situations, there's a flood of emotion where at first, for a moment, you felt fine, and then it hits you really strong, and it might be like triggering or provoking things that you thought you had already dealt with. Like you are already so engaged in your spiritual practice that you don't get irritated by the littlest thing anymore. But now you're just becoming irritated by everything. Like those old patterns are being triggered, right? And that's really normal, because see, even if we're one of the people that is not radically changing their life, it is a traumatizing situation. It is a crisis. It's a global pandemic. We haven't been in it before, right? And it's new. And so there is a moment of acceptance and compassion that we need to give ourselves when we're processing and navigating through the situation. But also what I feel like is coming about is like the realization, we have all these realizations of just like how unstable things are. Like we thought we had certainty, but that was an illusion, right? So there's certainty, but how unstable it is, and like these jobs that are not here anymore, or how we're educating our children, or how we're taking care of our sick people, or how we're birthing our children, or how our economy, or how our governments are run. Like all that stuff we had a little bit more confidence in before, and now we're questioning all those things. And it's really like the uncertainty is unsettling for a lot of people. It's almost as if what I'm seeing is some people would actually prefer the doomsday scenario, because at least then they know what to expect of the worst is coming. And they have some expectation, and they find comfort in the expectation, no matter if it's a positive or a negative or situation, rather than finding comfort in the neutrality of an unknown future, right? I personally find a little bit of comfort in the neutrality of an unknown future, because I think it's one of the most honest, real answers. We're always placed actually in a place of uncertainty, right? And this unknown in me, sure, waves of emotion hit me, but a lot of times what hits me is like excitement, an activation of my instincts, right? And a little bit of like a rewilding part of me gets activated, right? And you know what else gets activated is like my commitment to showing up and finding ways that people need, finding their needs and finding solutions to those needs, and being of service and keeping and showing up again and again, right? That uncertainty really requires not only me, but I know it's requiring that of you. All of you are figuring out ways that you can be helpful and generous and of service right now, and I applaud you for that. Okay? And I just want you to remember before I get any deeper that, like, we only have right now, the present moment, the here and now. And we were made for this, right? We've been preparing for these challenges our entire life. Some of us have been like spiritual practitioners or martial artists or care providers or mothers, or just we've grown up with adversity, right? And we've learned to rely on our self-resilience and our self-reliance. Like, and this right now, that was our life, and this right now is real. All those experiences are coming into this moment, empowering you and strengthening you and emboldening you so that you can be here. We're supposed to be here right now. And actually, even if we don't see it or we don't realize that it's all there, we have all the resources we need, we have all the knowledge we need, we have all the support we need. We have everything we need right now. Okay? So, if we're so like spiritually connected and centered, and we're comfortable with uncertainty, and we know that change is the only constant, and we know that nature is neutral, and we also know that we're not exempt. We're especially not exempt from a virus or from a pandemic. So if we know all these things, why are we so easily triggered? Why are we so easily put off our center? Why are we so easily thrown back into old patterns? And really a better question, I think, is like, how do we navigate ourselves through the situation with wisdom and grace and stay like in alignment with our truth, right? I think that's more important than why are we triggered. It's more like, how do I manage it? Okay? I mean, I think you can relate to this. All of us have been in a situation where we were like all in our peaceful Zen moment, and then instantaneously something like caught our attention, and we're like rageful, and we're lashing out, and we're angry, right? And we just like, we went from open, ooh, I feel so connected to the universe, to like contracted and fear and like wanting to run away, like an instant, right? So we've had those experiences, and now what I'm going to talk about today is how some tools to help us navigate, but also some like permission to not feel guilty and not feel shame and not feel upset at yourself when you go from your peaceful moment to back to your own pattern. Like, just a reminder of the compassion for yourself. Okay, so I'm asking you this question, not because I'm saying I am this, but I'm asking you this question. Do you know the difference between a Tai Chi master and a novice? Oh, one of you does. The difference is the master knows how to return to her center quicker. She's practiced it over and over and over again. That's the difference, right? So in order to find our center, we need to cultivate daily practices, right? Cultivate daily movements, exercises. Then these practices help us establish deep roots, no matter where you are on the planet. Even if you're in an airplane, you can still be rooted, right? With regular practice, you learn how to use your mind to connect with your breath, to relax your body, right? Then to strengthen your spirit. That's what the practice does. That's what these do over and over and over again. And so here we are faced in something we've never been before. So what do? We just adjust as we go, right? We refine. We listen. We adhere. We follow. We cry. We rest. We get up. We do it again. And then we do it again. And then we do it again. And we keep showing up and we keep turning toward and leaning into, right? It's not perfect. It's messy. It's why it's called practice, right? You're never going to get it all right and you're never going to get it all wrong, right? So establishing the stability in this process is not a one-size-fits-all, right? It's a unique thing for each one of us. And as an herbalist, it's my responsibility to remind you of your foundational needs, right? And in order to feel really full and fulfilled, we need to feel fed and have our needs met. And just real briefly, real simply, our primary need, one of them, in an herbal perspective, obviously we need to feel safe, loved, and secure, and respected and listened to. But from an herbal perspective, we need nourishment. And nourishment comes from drinking your nourishing herbal infusions and your adaptogenic herbs, like we have in Women's Balance. Nourishment also comes from drinking pure, fresh water, eating a clean diet. You know all these things. Nourishment also comes from having an oxygenated body that is clean and can detoxify, like you would have from chlorophyll. Nourishment and fulfillment also comes from healthy sleep, right? Being able to sleep and rest at night, like with good night. And it also comes from having a fortified, strong, reliable, and adaptable immune system to help you face viruses and all sorts of pathogens, right? Like with elderberry complex. And it also comes from a place of being able to receive support from herbs and herbal allies when you're feeling nervous or anxious or stressed, like with Solid and Serene, right? Those are all here for you. Those are useful tools, and they can support you to feel full and fulfilled. And all of those topics that I just listed, that I went through really quickly, I have a playlist about each one of those topics on our YouTube channel. There is a whole playlist about each one of those things, and I encourage you to go there. Okay, so last week on the channel, we made tinctures, right? And from the yard, and I have them here behind me. And I talked a little bit about making these tinctures, and I talked about alchemy, the alchemy of self, right? In brief, alchemy is an ability to transform one state of being or one state of matter into another state of being or another state of matter. So like the alchemists, they were on the quest of transforming lead into gold, right? As an herbalist, we transform sometimes toxic and poisonous plants into medicine, right? Just as humans, we can also transform our toxic and dangerous and poisonous thoughts, feelings, and emotions into wisdom and grace. That's alchemy, and that's what we're about to talk about. So last week we made medicine, and this week we're going to embody wisdom. Okay? Now, okay, from a Buddhist perspective, all of suffering comes from our attachment to these 6 emotions, right? And they're not all bad emotions. There's happiness, and there's anger, and there's sorrow, and there's joy, and there's love, and there's hate. Sorrow's not on there. Desire, right? Those are the 6 things that we attach to, and then they get out of control, and then we start to have like spiritual pain, physical pain, emotional pain, and it perpetuates our suffering, right? Now, and from a Buddhist perspective, they have this ultimate goal of achieving enlightenment. And now, not all of us are Buddhists, not all of us are monks, and not all of us want to detach from our emotions, right? We want to feel them, we want to express them. We want to live in our human body. We don't want to deny our humanness, right? And in order for these monks to do this, they have to seclude, they have to retreat, to go off into these mountains, to focus and only do this. Where we're not in a retreat. We're in our apartment with our kids right now, homeschooling, right? And we used to have a job, right? We're doing something different. It's not to say that the monk's job is any easier than ours. Those monks have a really hard challenge. They left their life. They are not completely alone. They're living with other people. So they have to deal with that. And they always have somebody over them telling them what to do. And they have these like really idealized goals that they're trying to meet that are almost impossible. And so they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves. So it's not like, oh, the monks can do it. Well, lucky them. Because they're actually, I really have a lot of respect and honor for their hard work and what they're doing in the world, and actually really appreciate how they're holding space for us as we're down here in society trying to figure it out, living with our emotions and living with other people. And so I'm not saying it's easier for them, but I am saying that even if we're not Buddhist, we can still come from the perspective of seeing wisdom in what they're saying. What they're saying is unchecked, uncontrolled, extreme emotions can wreak havoc on not only ourselves, they can hurt us physically, emotionally, and spiritually, but then they hurt those that are around us. And we just continuously bounce off them, and then they bounce off them, and then they bounce off them, and we're always in this state of chaos and suffering because we're not able to like find our center and stay there, right? And that's what they're trying to say. So from a Qigong perspective and philosophy, we have 2 minds. We have an emotional mind, and we have a wisdom mind. We can get real complicated with this, but I'm going to say it real simply. Your emotional mind is often compared to as a monkey. It's high energy. It bounces off the walls. It climbs up. It poops on stuff. It throws food at you. It's destructive. It destroys things. It's disrespectful. It's just like a wild beast in your house, right? And then you have the wisdom mind. The wisdom mind is a horse that is strong and stable. It can focus on a task. A monkey can't focus on a task. It can't get anything done. It just keeps undoing. Where a horse can focus on a task, it can follow through. It's sturdy, it's stable, reliable. That's like your wisdom, right? Where, from my perspective, and this is also a Qigong perspective, when your emotional mind and your wisdom mind come together, that's where your humanity is formed. That's where authenticity comes from, right? That's when your authentic self is manifested, when you can harmonize them, right? So through meditation practices, we try to learn to direct our mind, right? Our wisdom mind, to control, they use the word control, and I'm going to talk a lot about that, to control our emotional mind. Because then when our emotions are calm, then our body can relax. We can release the tension. We can go deeper in. We can breathe deeper. We can oxygenate ourselves. We can circulate chi. We can interact with the environment around us. We can raise our spirit. We can think clearly. We can discern. We can make judgment. We can see a situation accurately. Right? That's the goal. That's one of the goals of Qigong practice. Right? So how oftentimes it's described in these books is to like this monkey mind that you're going to like control it, right? And first you say you got to put a leash on it and then like stick it in a cage, right? And then you can control them. And then eventually you teach them how to like that you give them a banana and that you're nice. But at first it's real controlling. And of course my perspective is similar and it's a little bit different. Okay? So I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about my perspective. Okay, the thing about the monkey is it's just a monkey in life, is it's a sentient being, right? And you are a human with emotions. So you are a sentient being, right? And yes, we want to train the monkey and not let it wreak havoc. In order to do that, we need to create a container of safety, right? We need to have clear boundaries of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. We need to create this container of safety to teach, to mold, to shape, to direct, and to redirect. Right? And we need to really coexist in harmony with the monkey rather than make him submit to us. Because there's so much information in our emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, right? And the goal, from my perspective, is to strike a balance between cultivating and understanding our feelings versus controlling them and dismissing them and suppressing them and hiding them and making them submit to our will. It's making them to submit to how we should feel instead of how we do feel. Making them submit to what you should want in your life rather than what you do want in your life. Those are really different, right? From my perspective. And then when we stay in the state of trying to repress and control and to almost deny how important they are, then we stay in the state of, and we're not really truly integrating with them. And so what happens is these emotions just keep coming back stronger. And we encourage them to persist, right? And whatever we resist, because we're controlling it, we're resisting, there's tension there, I'm resisting it. Whatever I'm controlling and resisting just persists. It continues to keep coming until we can stop resisting. I'm not suggesting that we have unhealthy boundaries and just let our emotion just run wild. I'm suggesting integrate with our emotions, right? Okay, so everything has an origin, right? All of our emotions and all of our feelings have a root. They started somewhere. And most of our coping mechanisms and our patterns of behavior stem from our childhood. And many of us did not grow up in houses and families where we were totally, completely loved and accepted, and we were never abandoned, and everybody just loved us and was totally approving of us no matter how we behaved and no matter how we performed. in spite of what our parents wanted us to do, our teachers wanted us to do, our authority figures wanted us to do. Instead, we learned to behave in a way that was acceptable to our parents and our care providers and our teachers, so that we could get the love that we wanted. And in order to do that, we had to suppress and hide a lot of our aspects of ourselves, even though those aspects of ourselves were completely healthy and completely normal. They just didn't line up with the expectations of our culture or of our parents or of our situation, right? So, what do we do? All right, so the next time fear shows up, or any other strong emotion that's uncomfortable for you, instead of getting swept away by it, or pretending that it's not a problem, or placing a leash on it and controlling it, putting it in, instead what I'm asking you to do is to cultivate a relationship with it, to sit with it, to listen to it, get to know what it wants, get to know what it needs, and then give it what it needs. Understand where it came from, what's its origin, right? Doing this, understanding it, taking care of it, accepting it, allowing it, loving it, tending to it, is a way that we integrate with it and understand it and tame it. My dog doesn't have a leash, but when I step outside, he follows me everywhere I go. My cat could go anywhere. The door is open for her at all times. She stays at my side, right? I have 4 cats. As soon as I enter the space, they all come to me, right? Because they want to be there, and because they're accepted and they're allowed and they feel safe and they feel heard, they feel fed, they're warm, they're loved, right? Okay, so how do we do this? I'm going to just briefly, you do this on your own, but I'm going to briefly talk you through a way to do what I'm asking you to do. Okay, I need to take a sip of water though. A big part of being able to love your feelings is finding appreciation for the gifts that they've already given you and they've already brought you. So in order to do this, you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to take some deep, continuous breaths. And when you do this at home, the process is going to be longer. I encourage you to linger in these places. I'm just going to move through it so you can know the framework. Okay? So you're going to take some deep, continuous breaths, and you do this when a sensation arises. So you have a sensation of fear, of rejection, fear of money, or whatever your anxiety, whatever your sensation is. You feel that sensation in your body, right? And you might even put your hand on it. And you direct your breath to soften, become deep abdominal breaths. You feel the sensation. You acknowledge the sensation. And then you ask yourself, when was the last time I felt this way? And it might even just been moments ago. At the last red light, I was pretty mad then, and I'm pretty mad now at the next red light. Or it might have more information. So don't go looking for the information. Allow the information to come to you. It'll show up, right? So take your time. Let the information come to you of the last time you felt this way. And then see what messages or insights you're receiving. And then when you're ready to go deeper, you're going to keep your breath slow and steady. And then when you go deeper, ask yourself, when was the first time I felt this way? You have to remember, we kind of really remember our childhood like 8 years old. Some of us remember around 5 years old, but a lot of before 5 years old, it gets, we're not developed enough to have this memory. So you may not have a concrete, solid vision. You might have a perception of a time when you were really little, where you were nonverbal, right? So you might see a baby crying because they feel scared and alone, right? Or you might see a baby that's hungry and is crying, they're really hungry, and no one's taking care of them or feeding them, right? What, I don't know what you're going to see, but you're going to see something there, or perceive something there. And in that moment, when you perceive and see this child, with your like wise adult self now, tend to the needs of that child. Like, what is that child needing? Does it need to be picked up? Does it need to be fed? Does it need to be reassured? Say to that child what it needs to say, what it needs to hear, or do what to that child, so that that child can feel safe and loved and secured, right? So spend your time tending to your inner child in that moment. Yeah. And then, establish a connection. This is inner child work, and your emotions are going to come back again and again. So you need to know how to come back to this place, right? So after this is all said and done, then you put the child down and back, and you in a sense kind of create a new memory around it. Instead of the memory of the child feeling afraid and alone, now you created a memory where the child's needs were met by a supportive caregiver. You'll be surprised what happens in your own personal and emotional life. This is actually very simple and a very profound practice that I practice. And it really helps me. So I'm sharing it with you. Okay. So this is how we learn emotions, instead of perpetuating the wounding that our original emotion, and we might perpetuate this wound over and over and over again until we can go back to its source and find its origin and integrate with the origin of that, right? Our emotional wounds, our past traumas, when we can integrate with those, we not only heal ourselves, but we also reprogram and shift the patterns from our families, from our bloodlines, from our ancestry. And then we also shift and integrate and improve and create space and shift awareness for the rest of humanity and for the collective and for the past, present, and future. It's really important work. So we're not only integrating ourselves, we're creating space and a template for other people to do the same thing. So there's another thing I want to share with you about your emotions and softening your emotions. Here we are, we're living in our houses right now in a quarantine. You might be living with someone that you're around a lot, or they might not be living with you, but there's a person in your life that you care about, right? And when you might not be in the best communication right now, they might be behaving or acting in a way that you don't really understand, but you want to, but it's triggering you, and so you're acting in a way that you don't understand, and they're acting in a way, and so now you kind of have this block, right? And the communication and the openness is not this free flow that you're wanting, and you don't really understand why. And it's really not our place to fix other people, right? So how do you deal with that? This is a real simple, sweet way to hold and to embrace each other with compassion. right? And so once again, you would close your eyes and you would soften your breath and deepen your breath, relax your body, and then imagine bringing to your mind that person that you care about, right? And with the feeling of compassion and empathy for what this other person is going through and for what you're going through, create a container of safety as if it's an embrace, as if like the great mother, like the great mother is holding you both, right? Within this container of compassion and empathy and time and space. And with allowing your energy to expand between the two of you, and allowing this energy to be one, not of like fixing or meddling or just doing. It's more an energy of expanding and trusting and allowing and acknowledging that we don't understand what's happening inside the other person. We don't understand the past patterns that have been triggered from their past lives and their past. And so, but at the same time, we do understand and know that we accept them and love them and care about them, and we want to stay in communion with them. And so you allow your energy to expand with this like real generous feeling, with this real generous feeling almost of also of peace, like being a peacemaker, like you're waving the white flag of, you're not apologizing or you're not asking them to apologize, you're not asking for anything, but you're like waving this like white flag of saying, hey, I care about you and love you and have compassion for you of what you're going through, and I'm here and I can listen and I can hold you and hold each other in this space, right? And just allow that to be that. Okay? Yeah. Because, you know, like, we're all in this together. Right now, this, like, virus has us, right? We're all, like, in our houses. And we're all in our houses and we're forced to face our fears. We're forced to face ourselves. I don't know about you, but who I'm the most afraid of in the entire world is myself, right? And so we have a choice. We have lots of choices. There are circumstances right now that are beyond our control, and there are circumstances that are within our control, and that are within our ability, and within our frame of reference, and within our frame of influence, right? And how we interact and integrate with our emotions, how we find the origin, how we communicate and hold space for ourselves and for others, how we show up. Those are all choices that we have influence over, right? So our choices, one choice that I see is we can stay trapped in our old patterns and not do the inner work, and we can keep bouncing off each other and keep suffering and not really acknowledging the potency of what these emotions hold, and we can continue to just get swept away, or we can transform them. We can go through the process of self-alchemy. We can transform our thoughts and emotions into wisdom and into grace. And I'll tell you, I'm choosing to do the work, right? I'm choosing to do the work, and in order to do that, it's a process. It's a little by little, and it's a refining process. It takes patience, endurance, courage, humility, commitment, right? So what I really want you to remember, really, the goal is not to have mastery over your emotions. That's like me saying, I want mastery over herbal medicine. I want mastery over Qigong, over midwifery, over a healing process, right? Instead, we want mastery in, right? I want mastery in Qigong, in healing. So we want mastery in our fear, in our emotions, in our pain, our sorrow, in our grief, in our joy, in our love, in our desires. Because we want to integrate with them and coexist with them in a harmonious way. That's what Qigong teaches. That's what I've learned from Qigong. Qigong teaches you the vast difference between putting your mind on something and putting your mind in something. So, if you would like to start or deepen your Qigong practice and learn more practical methods, daily techniques that will help refine your emotions, help establish deep roots, connect you to your body, circulate your energy, expand your spirit, and grow in new and unprecedented ways, then class starts tomorrow morning, Friday, 10 a.m. Central Time. It's on Zoom. There's a link in the description. I invite you. I personally invite you. Right? There'll be a recording after. It'll be an hour from 10 to 11. We'll talk for a little bit. I'm not going to talk about philosophy. We're going to do the movements. There's infinite number of movements. There's 3,000 styles of Qigong. We're going to do a few of them. Right? And then at the end, I'll stop the recording. Then we can talk if you have a question or interaction and you want to do that. We can have a few moments. Okay? So that's available for you. And, you know, I'm going to wrap this video up and I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for taking the time and for showing up, being of service, of acknowledging yourself and your process and having some compassion for yourself and for others. And I want to encourage you and inspire you to do your foundational things, to drink deep, right? To drink your nourishment, sleep well, oxygenate, strengthen, relax, right? So, until also, one more thing, I would really appreciate it, is if you like this video, I really want you to like it and subscribe it and share it with your friends. It really helps out so that the message gets spread. And also in the comments, express one of your aha moments or a moment that made you say, oh, I resonate with that. I appreciate that. And until next time, my friends, drink deep and always walk in beauty.